A number of years ago, I went on retreat to Nova Scotia, and there were these hermitages out in the middle of the woods. We were about 7 miles back through a dirt road, and there was nothing around us, and there was various lakes, one lake to another. It was perfect, pure, pristine forest and beautiful lakes. And one night, a bunch of us who were on retreat decided to go do some canoeing in the middle of the night. And the water was so still that the lake was just reflecting the stars. It was like rowing through the stars. And then we just sat on one of the beaches, lit a fire, and just prayed the rosary and just looked up at the stars. And stars are so beautiful. We love to look at the stars, right? The stars are just something just so magnificent. And we have all the scientific stuff of what they are, but just to behold them is just beautiful. Growing up near the city in New York, I didn't get to see many stars, so you can imagine what it was like to be in Nova Scotia and see so many stars. They had more stars up there than we had. Anyway, but no one, I think, appreciates stars more than sailors, right? Minus all the navigational equipment they now have and GPSs and so forth. True seamen are able to manage the oceans and the seas through the stars. The stars guide them through the seas. It's very hard when there's storms for them. They have to wait for the storms to pass and the skies to clear to know where they are in order to follow the stars to where they are going. The constellations lead them, particularly what they call the northern star that really guides the rest of the way. And that star guides them. Their journeys are led by the stars. And I bring this up today because today we celebrate the name of Mary. And it's so beautiful when we think about what her name means. Mary means star of the sea. It also can be translated bitter sea, but we'll talk about that on the 15th. Today we look at the one translation of her name as Star of the Sea. It's actually one of Our Lady's earliest titles as well, Star of the Sea. And I think it's beautiful because when we think about our lives and the storms in this life and trying to get through the sea of this life to reach the shores of heaven, sometimes and most times it's a pretty dark journey for us and very difficult journey for us. And we need to look to the star to guide us. Of herself, Our Lady has no power. She's human like the rest of us. But because she is the Immaculate Conception, God's glory and God's grace is able to shine forth from her. The light that she bears is not anything of her own. It's what was given to her by God himself, Christ Jesus himself. She bears the light of Christ. And so she leads us to Christ. She guides us with the light of Christ. And so the beauty of her name is that it signifies also her mission, which is to guide us safely home to heaven. In the 11th century, so the 1000s, 11th century, St. Bernard of Clairvaux has a beautiful, beautiful writing about Our Lady and her name and Star of the Sea. He said, if you're fighting and struggling to get past anger, look to the star. Look to Our Lady. If you're going through the troubles and difficulties of speech and trying to clean up your speech, look to Our Lady. Turn to Our Lady. You're struggling with envy or jealousy, it goes through the various sins. Whenever you feel tempted and there's a storm around you, look to the star. Follow the star to lead you through the sea to Christ. He gave this absolutely beautiful sermon on the name of Mary, meaning Star of the Sea, and how, even in the midst of difficulties and trials and struggles, we should look to Our Lady, who will show us the light of Christ and lead us to him through those struggles. Just as sailors follow the stars to lead them across oceans, so we follow the star of Our Lady through the ocean of this life and the storms that come our way. St. Bernard of Clairvaux, in preaching that sermon, really kicked off the devotion to the holy name of Mary. It took a while to get on the calendar that we'd actually celebrate it as a feast day. So in 1513, it got on the calendar, and then it came off the calendar, then went back on the calendar, then went off the calendar, and then something happened in 1683, which changed everything. And it always was the 12th whenever they celebrated it, but everything changed in 1683. So in 1683, on September 11th, 150,000 Turks, Muslims, surrounded Vienna. And it was going to pass through Vienna, destroy Vienna, make their way to Rome, and turn the Vatican into a mosque. 150,000 troops. At this point, by 1683, the Catholic League was exhausted and tired and did not have much to offer. They hoped for 15,000, but by the time of the battle, the Catholic League can only muster 3,000 soldiers. Vienna is surrounded by 150,000 soldiers, with only 3,000 men to defend it, to defend Christianity, to defend Rome. Ultimately, it was a loss. Blessed Mark of Aviano, who gave us cappuccino coffee, Blessed Mark of Aviano mustered the troops and told them to trust to Our Lady and to have faith in Our Lady. The winged army from Poland showed up. Sobieski led the charge to defend Vienna. And on this day, the battle began on the 11th, and on this day, somehow the Catholic League was able to defeat 150,000 Muslims with only 3,000 troops. Literally outnumbered 15-1. Impossible odds. And yet, through devotion to Our Lady, not only was Vienna spared, but Rome was spared, and the faith in Europe was spared. And so, after this feast, after this great battle today, September 12th was once again to be known as the Feast of the Holy Name of Mary, because they called on Our Lady and the faith was preserved. Yesterday, the reason why we had that terrible day of 9/11 was because for the Muslims, September 11th was always to be remembered as a day of revenge because of the Battle of Vienna. That's why they attacked on September 11th. It was very significant because it was the last and final defeat of the Muslims in their attacks against Europe. And that's why they chose on September 11th to attack New York, Washington, and why the plane went down in Pennsylvania. It was because of the defeat in Vienna. And so today, as we celebrate the Holy Name of Mary, we remember that as well. That in our struggles, in our battles, whether it be the battles to defend the faith, as it was in Vienna, or the battles to defend Christianity itself here in our present culture and day and age, or the various battles we have in the struggles of society, or our personal struggles of life, to call upon the Holy Name of Mary and ask Our Lady to be the guiding star that brings us safely to Christ, to safe shores and safe harbors, to be protected through the battles of this world, and to reach heaven safely. May the Holy Name of Mary be praised and honored, and may we always remember the love of our Heavenly Mother. May God bless you, and Mary keep you.